straight? You going straight? Okay, no.
We committal, sir, of papers. Oh, you want to do it? All right. You already that right?
Leader of government business?
Yeah, the Wait, hold on.
He's not. Oh, you did.
Yes, sir.
I was looking for you at the other.
Honourable member for Christchurch East Central.
Mr. Speaker, I am commanded to lay the value-added tax refund, the Maria Holder Memorial Trust Order 2020.
Revert to government business, sir. Order number 8, in the name of the Honorable Leader of the House, to move that the House resolve itself into Standing Finance Committee to consider the grant of sums of money for the service of this item.
Honourable Leader of government business.
Yeah, Mr. Speaker, I beg to move that you do now leave the chair and that the House resolve itself into Standing Finance Committee.
The question is that the Speaker do not leave the chair. The question that the Speaker do not leave the chair and the House resolve itself into Standing Finance Committee. All those honourable members in favour, please say aye. Those against, please say no. Meeting the ayes have it.
This House is now in Standing Finance Committee.
Madam Chair, in the name of the Honorable Minister of Economic Affairs and Investment, to move the passing of a resolution to grant the sum of $32,753,850 from the Consolidated Fund and to place it at the disposal of the government to supplement the estimates 2020 to 2021 as shown in the supplementary estimates number 8, 2020 to 2021, which form the schedule to the resolution. Madam Chair, I should let the House know that this is an adjusted figure and that supplementary has been circulated to all members. Head 13, Prime Minister's Office, in the amount of $819,354.
Honourable Member for St. Michael's South Central.
Thank you, Madam Chair. Madam Chair, the amount indicated in these supplementary provisions for Head 13, Prime Minister's Office, relate to Kensington Oval Management, Inc. Now, COMI, as we call it, is one of those entities that has been, like many tourism-related or visitor-related and entertainment-related venues, been impacted by this COVID-19 pandemic. Now, prior to that, to us having been thrust into this position of having to respond to and recover from the pandemic, Kensington Oval Management, Inc. had been developing a new strategy, new revenue streams, new ways to penetrate the regional and international cricket and sporting entertainment market. Those plans are still on track. Even though COMI has been very hard hit by the pandemic and direct inflows from cricket and from other sports and entertainment events have been virtually eliminated, there's still plans for add-on services, for tour revenue, and so on. Now, Madam Chair, I don't intend to spend too much time on this head, except to say that we've just recently had the erection of a statue to pay tribute to Sir Wes Hall, one of this country's, this region's, and the world's outstanding cricketing legends. For many people, for those of us who love cricket all over the world, Comey is still considered, Kensington Oval is still considered the mecca in this part of the world of cricket. Now, from the perspective of investment, tourism investment, and the promotion of the visitor economy, we have to be able to leverage Comey's location as being a part of the urban, but also the coastal entertainment corridor, to be able to build out and build on what it currently does. Kensington Oval is about cricket, but it is not just about cricket. And the cricket entertainment product in Barbados is not just about Kensington Oval. We've talked about really leveraging the cricket legends of Barbados and of the region. We've talked about the site where central purchasing is currently being converted into a hotel, another venue that is branded as the cricket legends of Barbados, or even the cricket legends of the region, and having others in other locations. And so there's a lot that we need to build on, and that we will build on, when it comes to how we position Kensington Oval. Comey has been enjoying, I would say, some very strategic management, some very strategic thinking. As I mentioned, the plan is to develop more resilient revenue streams. The plan is to be able to, as we've started doing, and we did this with the unveiling of the Wes Hall statue, is to be able to use the social media platforms in the region, similarly to how Cricket West Indies and others have done, to be able to attract interest, to be able to create a platform for online merchandising of Kensington Oval, of West Indies cricket, of regional cricket and other types of gear and memorabilia, improving and relaunching our daily tours, reducing the cost structure of Comey by incorporating renewable energy. Now, we've started discussions with Barbados National Oil Company Limited, as well as the IDB, to evaluate how we can make sure that Comey can reduce its energy-related costs by at least 20% over the next 5 years, while the Oval is able to pay off for the system. However, Madam Chair, these things, while we are developing them, still require the Oval to remain open, to remain functioning. The people of Barbados will have seen that we have still made several attempts to host certain entertainment events to make sure that there's a cash flow, but regrettably, that has not been sufficient in the context of this pandemic to be able to meet all the needs. And so Comey has been very severely impacted by the minimal inflows as a result of the pandemic. And we anticipate that it needs a minimum subvention of about $187,583.32 a month to cover basic expenses. So it means that over the period in question, it is $819,354 that are required. Madam Chair, we consider this an investment in making sure that Kensington Oval remains open, remains relevant, is put in the position to be able to develop those new revenue streams, to develop the cricket-related tourism and entertainment product, which we think Barbados is the best place in the region to be able to offer to the rest of the world. Right now, we have this brilliant young man, Captain Tom, I believe he's called, this British national who was able to raise, I believe it was £33 million for the NHS in the UK. One of his dreams was to come to Barbados and to visit Kensington Oval, which I believe he will do on Thursday. people all over the world see Kensington Oval and the cricket legends of Barbados and the region not as a part of a dream to be realized. And so we believe that these resources are an investment in the future of Kensington Oval. And it is for that reason that we are requesting these sums. So, Madam Chair, with that, I beg to move the, sorry? Head 13 stamp part.
Go ahead and ask the question. Question is that head 13 stamp part. All honorable members in favor, please say aye. All those against, please say nay. Methinks the ayes have it.
Head 15, Cabinet Office, in the amount of $1,711,723.
Honorable member for Christchurch East Central.
Thank you, Madam Chair. Earlier today, we debated the bills associated with the Humanitarian Service Award, as well as the Gold Medal Award for Barbados. And part of the sums associated with this supplementary for the Cabinet Office under sub-program 7020 is to facilitate the acquisition of the medals to be able to facilitate the award, specifically as it relates to the Humanitarian Service Award in January. So in the supplementary, you will see that $395,895 will be required in order to be able to have those awards specially minted, if you like, if that's the correct language, to be able to give to those persons who have given human service to Barbados this year and to be participate and allow them to have a special award which will be designated under the COVID-19 award. And obviously, excess, as we indicated, is that going forward, we anticipate that there may very well be other areas with respect to the Humanitarian Service Award, and therefore those monies will be able to procure those awards. We've also set aside, Madam Chair, $1 million in this supplementary under contingency. As you are aware, Madam Chair, this year was perhaps one of the most active hurricane seasons, even though Barbados did not necessarily receive or experience, other than the rain, systems that threaten us from a hurricane perspective. But Hurricane Eta, you will recall, Madam Chair, which for the first time in a long time, we actually got into the Greek alphabet with respect to the name storms in the season, caused significant damage across Central America. And specifically countries, 4 countries that we are pledging these relief funds for include Panama, Belize, Honduras, and Nicaragua, where some 2.5 million persons approximately were impacted specifically by Hurricane Eta. You may recall there were videos of persons marooned all across Honduras and Central America as Hurricane Eta passed, and Barbados being a part of a global community, notwithstanding our current fight against COVID, as well as our issues in terms of dealing with the economy. Obviously, Belize being a part of CARICOM, but equally, as we partner across Latin America, as you will recall, we opened a mission in Panama in order to strengthen our linkages with those Barbadians who had gone to Panama a little over 100 years ago to construct the canal. And as we broaden our relationships across the hemisphere, we feel that even at this time that we can give whatever little we can to help to bring some relief to those persons who were significantly impacted by the passing of Hurricane Eta. So this $1 million under the Cabinet Office is to be able to bring some relief, however small, to those persons who were impacted by Hurricane Eta. The last sum of monies here gives me great joy in that the $315 $1,828. I know the honorable member sitting to my right will not relish it, but the member for St. George North was elected, duly elected a few weeks ago, and these monies are to cover the costs associated with the administration of that by-election in St. George. And I know that the honorable member, even though he was very forthright in his congratulations to the honorary member, obviously this is a constitutional responsibility, and therefore these are the costs associated with for the Electoral and Boundaries Commission in order to ensure that those persons who work, especially on election day, and all of the administration associated with the registering of electors and all that goes into the hosting of a by-election, that these costs are covered with respect to this supplementary request. And so, Madam Chair, I beg to move that head 15 in the amount of $1,711,723 stamp part.
Honorable Leader of the Opposition.
Intimated earlier, Madam Chair, that very early in my formative years, I learned how to deal with conflict. Honorable member of Christchurch East Central has obviously come looking for a fight. He's come to sit quite close to me, and then he could not end his submission without making reference to the experience of the St. George North by-election, in which PDP gained in its vote and the Barbados Labour Party lost in its vote.
In the spirit of giving, Madam Chair, I beg to move that head 15 stamp part.
Question is that head 15 stand part. All honorable members in favor, please say aye. All those against, please say nay. Methinks the ayes have it.
Head 27, Ministry of Tourism and International Transport, in the amount of $886,515.
Honorable member for Christchurch East Central.
Yes, Madam Chair. As you would recall, even though we're in the midst of a pandemic, the ministry is still executing under the National Tourism Program a project which is funded. A project which is funded by the IDB. Yes, by the IDB, with respect to the execution of that program. And therefore, the monies associated with this supplementary is to, in part, support the financing and the costs associated with those persons under the project unit. And similarly, under the air transport infrastructure, additional monies to support, obviously, the operations in terms of the personnel with respect to those two agencies. And so I beg to move that head 27 in the amount of $886,695 do stand part.
You want to correct your figure? You want to correct your figure?
Sorry. My apologies, Madam Chair. Oh, sorry. I beg to move that head 27 in the amount of $886,515 do stand part. Sorry.
Question is that head 27 stand part. All members in favor, please say aye. All those against, please say nay. Methinks the ayes have it.
Head 30, Office of the Attorney General, in the amount of $5,362,193.
Honorable member for St. Joseph.
Madam Chair, I'm pleased to ask this Chamber's acquiescence in providing the supplementary for the Office of the Attorney General in the amount of $5,362,193. This covers essentially 4 heads. And among the items that are included here, Madam Chair, would be professional services that have been engaged by the Office of the Attorney General. This total amount is the figure of $1,040,950. Mr. Speaker, Madam Chair, sorry, this amount is reflected because of several factors. One of them is the fact that the government of Barbados has an engagement or has engaged a UK firm, I have disclosed this to the Chamber before, to do work for us in the area of investigating potential incidents of corruption, and an amount in the sum of £150,000 is due to that entity. There are other expenses. There are still some legal fees that are owed to the attorneys as legal costs who worked on who got costs in the election cases of 2.5 years ago. There's one instance where, for some inexplicable reason, those costs have not yet been settled, and that is also included. In addition to that, you see that there's provision for the amount of $400,000 under the Office of the Chief Parliamentary Counsel. I don't think it's a secret, Madam Chair, that the area of legal drafting is a very complex area, and there's a global shortage of legal draftsmen. And it is no secret that we've had a fairly blistering schedule in terms of legislation coming to Parliament. And it is little known, though, that a lot of day-to-day drafting is done by chambers. All of the orders that are made, for example, under the duties, taxes, and other, what's the specific bill? It's the duties, taxes, and other payments. Yes, a lot of orders. I think one was laid before this chamber a few minutes ago. All of those things have to be expertly drafted by the staff of the Chief Parliamentary Counsel. In addition to that, we've had to bring forward a number of pieces of legislation to Parliament in short order. This has required us to engage additional drafting services from outside of chambers. We are very fortunate to have still available to us a number of draftspeople who have retired. We've been using Mr. Justice Moore, who used to be Chief Parliamentary Counsel before he was elevated to the bench, and he has been doing a tremendous amount of work. This amount is not for him, but we anticipate that other invoices will come in as he finishes off other pieces of legislation. We are very fortunate, and we now have a newly retired Chief Parliamentary Counsel, and I hope that she'll be able to assist us in that regard as well. The forensic services relates, Madam Chair, to getting the forensic services laboratory in Culloden Road up to speed. That laboratory was allowed to fall into a state of, I don't want to be so extreme as to say decay in recent times. We've spent a significant amount of money to try to get the building back into shape because a lot of the issues have been environmental. This amount covers annual expenses, including things like insurance, servicing, equipment, and so on, in order to be able to make sure that all of the additional things are sorted and in a position to be reactivated when we hopefully will get back into the laboratory later in the financial year. Police services takes up the vast majority of the money that we're seeking. By convention, Madam Chair, we don't go into the specifics of the procurement matters, but suffice to say that some of the provision that is made here relates to day-to-day maintenance of our stations and things of that sort. I think a lot of people don't recognize the challenges that the police officers of Barbados have to operate under. I frequently get calls and text messages, anonymous, complaining that AC units are not working, generators are not working, a whole set of things. And you know, Mr. Speaker, Madam Chair, you may say they're small things, but a police station is not like this building. We come into this building, this chamber, at 10 o'clock every Tuesday. The staff will come every day, but they may come at 8 or 10. I think Saturday comes at 10. And they leave at 5. A police station works 24/7. And there are 3 shifts in the course of every day. So people are constantly rotating into a space that for the last 8 hours has been occupied by somebody else. And then at the end of that person's shift, another individual rotates into that space. So the intensity of the use of a police station is in many respects unlike most things in government. Obviously, hospitals and the ambulance service, they will have that too, but I think that would allow people to understand what we're dealing with. So what may be seen as a maintenance issue that can be put off until tomorrow, can't put off until tomorrow, because there's another shift coming for whom these maintenance issues continue to be a problem. And therefore, we are budgeting a significant amount of this money to be able to bring a lot of relief to officers who are working in stations, solar heaters, air conditioning, maintenance of bathrooms, things of that sort. But in addition to that, there are some legacy things. There are generators. All of our stations have generating capacity, I believe, certainly the new ones and the major ones. And you know, we have to be prepared in case there's a power outage. The station has to work. You can't call the station, I'm sure, and take any delight in hearing that we ain't got any electricity. So therefore, this isn't working or that isn't working. So there are things of that sort that are being addressed. So it is a figure that I can assure the chamber is much needed. It doesn't represent in any way any falling down in relation to our budgeting. A lot of issues come up during the course of the year, but I'm pleased to be able to say that this money is going to be well used and specifically targeted to ensure that, among other things, the members of the Royal Barbados Police Force will be able to function in some more comfort than they are currently functioning in, and that we'll be able to continue to deliver the services to the country in terms of drafting and other professional services. I'm therefore asking the Chamber to approve the supplementary in the amount of $5,362,193.
Question is that head 30 stand par. All honorable members in favor, please say aye. All those against, please say nay. Methinks the ayes have it.
Head 31, Ministry of Innovation, Science and Smart Technology, in the amount of $3,737,291.
Honorable members St. Michael South Central.
Thank you, Madam Chair. Madam Chair, as we are all aware, the Ministry of Innovation, Science and Smart Technology has had to hit the ground running when it was first established, and has had to increase the pace of the sprint in the context of the COVID pandemic. These supplementary monies being requested cover 3 broad areas of work that are very crucial at this time. MIST, as we call the ministry, is responsible for the rollout of a transformational program, the National Digital Identification System. This is something that will allow each Barbadian to be re-registered, but it will also allow for a number of digital services and a digital personality and interaction, not just with the government of Barbados and with government services, but with a range of other services, including payments being able to be done in a digital way, and so on. It is very important that we are able to accelerate the pace of the rollout of that project, and some of the resources here cover the Ministry of Innovation, Science and Smart Technology being able to do that. This national ID system is a part of a broader modernization thrust. One of the first actions of this administration when we came to service 2.5 years ago was to start the work of modernization, digitization, and digitalization. What that means is that we are migrating more and more services online. We all saw this with the police certificate of character. We've modernized the way in which passports are renewed, driver's licenses are renewed. There's a range of services that will allow Barbadians to save time, and in so doing to become more productive and to be able to dedicate time to the things that they value most. Part of the process of the digitization, and digitization, let me say, is the word we use when we're talking about making information digital. Digitalization, extra syllable, is the word we use when we're talking about allowing people to carry out business in an online environment. So they're two separate processes. But what these resources will allow us to do will allow us to re-engage some of those people who will have been separated from both public and private sector work, both prior to the pandemic and as a result of the pandemic. We are very aware that there is a need for people not just to be able to receive support and transfers in the way that we've been doing it, but to be able to work again, to be able to get up every day and as we say colloquially, and bathe and powder and go to a job and feel like they are a part and be a part of economic activity and life in the country again. And so these resources will allow us to engage people, to be able to clean records, and to be able to digitize them. I know, Madam Chair, that you as a champion of healthy buildings and healthy environments will be happy to hear that we're getting rid of all this paper that dust clings to, and that we'll be able to digitize, to clean the records, to store them securely, and to be able to digitize them. The final area of work and final activity that these resources will allow us to accelerate relate to smart cities and being able to fulfill the manifesto pledge that was made as it relates to Smart Bridgetown and the availability of free Wi-Fi in the Bridgetown area. The Smart Bridgetown project contemplates the free Wi-Fi as the first phase. It also contemplates a parking app that will allow people to, once we've established stronger and more complete parking and park and ride systems, to be able to identify where parking is available, and therefore not lose time by driving around and around in circles or parking illegally and therefore lose money. And it will also allow for visitors to be able to see certain attractions as a later phase of phase 3, so that they are aware of where they can go at what times and get the most out of their experience in Barbados. So these sums of money, Madam Chair, will allow the Ministry of Innovation, Science and Smart Technology to rapidly implement these activities. So with that, I beg to move that Head 31 stand part.
Question is that Head 31 stand part. All honorable members in favor, please say aye. All those against, please say nay. Methinks the ayes have it.
Head 33, Ministry of Home Affairs, Information and Public Affairs, in the amount of $1,275,995.
Honorable member for Christchurch East.
Madam Chair, the bulk of the sum sought is to assist us with the debts of CBC. As you would know, Madam Chair, the government sought to take the statutory corporations off the books of central government. to allow them to stand on their own 2 feet. CBC, their main revenue comes from advertising and from income generated from MultiChoice, MCTV. Madam Chair, anybody who is in business would know that the bad word in Barbados, actually internationally, is advertising. Advertising and sponsorship are now 2 bad words. The advertising revenue from CBC has dropped off significantly over the COVID period, with businesses trying to hold on to their cash and not invest in advertising. There have been almost no new subscriptions to MultiChoice, and we've run into some difficulties, Madam Chair, with increasing debts to the suppliers, things like the networks that CBC is obliged to pay for licenses to use their feeds. We have a backup with those. We're trying to renegotiate or come to some allowance with respect to being able to service those debts. But as it stands now, CBC has some immediate things that we need to take care of. CBC has some immediate things it needs to take care of. In addition, Madam Chair, we have a situation at CBC where the building, through years of neglect, has reached a point where immediate work is required in certain areas. A lot of the ACs are not functioning. Certain sections of the building had to be shut off because of mold. The whole sick building thing, again, is in need of an industrial clean. So the sum sought for CBC in particular was the sum of $913,195. And that is basically to take us through to the end of this financial year, to put us in a position where the staff can actually work to get some basic equipment, because a lot of the equipment is out of date as well. The format that the equipment records in is not the current format. We need high-def things that are able to speak to each other. So this is just a patch, the whole until the end of the financial year, when the realistic estimate as to what is necessary to take CBC forward will have to come into play. So that's on the CBC aspect. The balance of the funds, Madam Chair, is in relation to the new Public Affairs Department. As you know, there's a Director of Public Affairs currently, but that's a one-person shop. What COVID has taught us is that the government needs to change the way that it disseminates information. So when people think of government information, they actually think of Government Information Service. But GIS is an agency that's pretty much set up to do reporting on behalf of the government. They would do one-off things. They would report an opening of something. They report things from the Met Office. One-off reports are what GIS really does. What we need now is an avenue for the government to get the message across as to where we are going as a country and what is necessary to educate our people and to get some behavioral change. We have issues with crime in Barbados, Madam Chair, and it's not going to go away by itself. The police can do what they do, but still positive messaging needs to be out there on a constant basis from the government. With respect to NCDs and the Ministry of Health, the minister can say all he wants and JS will report it once, but to get the message out there across as to the changes that Barbadians need to make in order to secure their lifestyle and a better way of health, we need a format and a platform to do that. And this does that. Manager, if I use one good example, for No Sugar November, that was a recent challenge that was up in November where you're pushing to not use sugar. It got a lot of buy-in because it was repeatedly out there in social media, and a number of people, Madam Chair, obtained some good reports out of it. I won't toot my own horn, Madam Chair, but having put myself out there as somebody who was going for the goal and not realizing how many people saw it, Madam Chair, I was ashamed to fall short. So every time I was tempted, Madam Chair, I just sucked it up and just left out the sugar, right? Madam Chair, obviously the member for St. Thomas needs to change her spectacles because being right across from her, she fails to see that I'm now 10 pounds later than I was at the beginning of it. But the point is, Madam Chair, we don't hear asides, especially cruel asides, Madam Chair. But the point is, the message, something as simple as that, by the repeat messaging and the changing the way that we put it out, it got a lot of people to buy into it. And this is we have spoken to the Ministry of Health, we've spoken to the National Cultural Foundation. It's going to be a department that A, can stand on its own, or B, can work in collaboration with other ministries and other departments to push their agendas and help them to meet their targets. When we get to the point, Madam Chair, where the vaccine comes into Barbados, where the COVID vaccine comes into Barbados, there's going to be need to be a sustained public education push to advise people to be able to answer the questions, to be nimble enough to answer questions in real time, and to get the messaging out there. This is the department that will do that. We don't intend to overpopulate it with staff. Rather, it needs to have a way to contract for the services required. I mean, you can require specialists in audiovisual presentations, editing, messaging, behavioral change specialists. It's going to be that department that is going to be used to educate and transform the way of thinking of Barbadians to help make us to be the best that we can be. The other initiative that I want to point out, the leader of government business had mentioned this earlier in one of her addresses, but we need to capture what is Barbadian. We have a lot of prominent Barbadians, Madam Chair, that we have not captured what their life story is. So for the Sir Wes Hall, for the Sagaris, for the prominent people, all who have gotten the highest award, we need to capture what their story is so that Barbadians down the line can understand these are the persons we look up to. This is where they came from, this is what they achieved, and this is why we need to emulate them. So this is that department, Madam Chair, that is going to do all of that. We have a problem, Madam Chair, that came forward very recently. I don't want to pinpoint it specifically, but you'll know what I'm talking about. Where we should not be scrambling for footage or to be able to tell the story of prominent Barbadians when they passed, right? That should be already done, cataloged, added to as they add to their accomplishments, and we should be able to represent them properly and honor them properly at the drop of a dime. Madam Chair, we need to hear the story of Sir Lloyd Sandiford. We need to hear the story of Sir David Simmons. Madam Chair, we need to hear the story of the leader, honorable leader of the opposition. What is his experience? What were his thoughts? What drives him? What motivates him? I mean, all prominent Barbadian, Madam Chair, the longest serving female parliamentarian. We need to capture her story. But Madam Chair, I think I've made the point. But the bottom line, Madam Chair, it's not a lot we're asking for at this instance. We want to start now, and we have to get this department properly functioning and running, especially to start the public education and the public dissemination of information with respect to the COVID vaccine, because we need to hit the ground running for that one in particular as soon as it's available. We need to talk about what it means to be a republic and be able to answer questions and put the information out there. So the amount for this particular section, Madam Chair, is simply to take us to the end of the financial year, and then the proper accounting for this section is going to appear in the estimates for year 2021 to 2022. So, Madam Chair, with those few words and that explanation, I beg to move that head 33 in the amount of $1,275,995 stamp part.
Question is that head 33 stand par. All honourable members in favour, please say aye. All those against, please say nay. Methinks the ayes have it.
Head 34, Ministry of Finance, Economic Affairs and Investment, in the amount of $2,214,444.
Honourable member for Christchurch East Central.
Madam Chair, the sums under the specific head for the Barbados Revenue Authority in the amount of $2,152,444, in part to do two things. Having started this implementation with respect to TAMIS, Madam Chair, which has been ongoing now for the better part of 4 years, the government of Barbados now has taken responsibility over from the consultants with respect to the administration of TAMIS, but some $613,575, is our counterpart funds in relation to the execution of that specific project, which the Revenue Authority now is obviously will apply with respect to the expenditures associated with that particular software program. I can say to the public of Barbados that we have been working, obviously, to ensure that the smooth transition with respect to the processing of refunds. We have not yet gotten to the stage where everything has run as smoothly as we would like, given a number of factors that has impacted that. But the reality is that we believe that we are at a stage now where, with the government having the full production capacity with respect to TAMIS, given that it has been built to spec and has been delivered, that going forward we will be able to make changes and the appropriate adjustment as it relates to policy in a much more timely manner than we have experienced certainly over the past 2.5 years with respect to this. Equally, a number of persons have already received their 2019 tax refunds, and equally reverse tax credits as well for 2018. And therefore, as the Revenue Authority continues to manage that process to ensure that whilst it's important for us to respond to people in a timely manner, the clearing of the backlog with respect to refunds continues, whilst we manage to stay current with respect to the refunds that are available. And I urge certainly the patience of the public with respect to that, because we are making strides with respect to the improvement of the public finances as it relates to the administration of revenue. Madam Chair, the remaining sums, $1.5 million, it relates to the payment of pension benefits for, this is on that first head, with respect to retired employees of the Revenue Authority, as well as those employees who are anticipated to retire during the course of this financial year as well. So, as you know, the Revenue Authority took 5 departments in, and therefore there's as persons were in the service for a number of years, we are seeing over the course of the last couple of years, persons retiring. So these sums are to facilitate those retirement benefits. And the last amount, Madam Chair, is to provide $62,000 to repair the roof of the government central purchasing, as Barbadians will know it as. And the officers there have certainly throughout this period has continued to serve the government departments, as well as the expanded procurement mechanism. We ask of them to ensure that we have critical items in this COVID-19 environment. And we want to ensure that the roof of the warehouse, which obviously stores some of these critical items, that we have those repairs completed in the shortest possible time. And therefore, this $62,000 is to conduct those repairs to the roof of the Central Purchasing Department's warehouse. So with that, Madam Chair, I beg to move that Head 34 in the amount of $2,214,444 stamp part.
For stamp part, all honorable members in favor, please say aye. All those against, please say nay. Methinks the ayes have it.
Head 35, Ministry of People Empowerment and Elder Affairs, in the amount of $75,000.
Honorable member for St. Thomas.
Thank you, Madam Chair. I wish to indicate the release of funds to the tune of $75,000 to go towards the Alliance to End Homelessness. Over the past few years, that institution has been serving the public of Barbados, particularly emphasizing persons who are homeless. And over the years, it has done a very good job in helping to ensure that homeless people are taken off the streets, but more particularly at this time of COVID, where no vagrant, as far as I am aware, was seen knocking around Bridgetown during that period, especially those months of the lockdown. They were all housed at the institution. I want to commend the organization because of the assistance that has been offered. Government does not have enough facilities to cater to those who are extremely impoverished and find themselves homeless for whatever reason. Some of them have mental illness, others have been turned away from their various homes, or they have lost them due to debt that would have owed, and therefore the property goes, they can't pay the mortgage and so on. And these funds are going to help to shore up the services that the organization has been offering. They have been offering meals, clothing, counseling, medicals, and they have been following the protocols. And luckily, we do not know of anyone who would have been a part of that institution who came down with the disease. All of our homes, meaning those that are under the People Empowerment and Elder Affairs Department, Lancaster House, the Clyde Gollop Center, and the Vauxhall Home, they were all filled to capacity. And therefore, the Alliance for Homelessness, they were the able persons who took in those individuals who found themselves on the other end of it. Governments over the years have been extending that helping hand to organizations and other entities that help to ensure that people reach a level where they can be housed, they can be fed, they can be getting the funds, and so to help to lift them up out of the poverty cycle. And so there are other institutions that have been benefiting as well over the years and continue to, like the Salvation Army that has for many, many generations been offering extensive support and assistance to the Republic of Barbados. Thus they go out and they source money through the Kettle Project and other aspects of collections. And the Salvation Army does, with recently including the Prison Fellowship that has been doing excellent work to be able to work with those families particularly whose children or parents have been imprisoned, and therefore when a father goes to prison, then there's little money or little maintenance coming into families. Similarly, if there's a female, and the Prison Fellowship too, that is under our umbrella, the Business and Professional Women's Club has for many years been managing the Battered Women's Center. They too are entitled to the subvention, the Council for the Disabled, and other community-based organizations that bring to the fore what their plans are and the vision for the institutions, as well as the accountability that we require. And we have been following it very carefully to make sure the element of accountability is there, where the expenditure is given in on their annual reports so that we know how the financials are going. And so I wish to thank that institution and all others for the excellent work they have been doing. And I would wish for this honorable chamber to take note of how the expenditure we have been told, and we will continue to look out for the information to come in from that institution about the sanitizing, the following of the protocols, the wearing of the mask, all the other things that they were expected to do. And luckily, none of our homeless, as far as we are very said before, has been identified. And so I ask for this head 35 to the tune of $75,000 be to stand part in relation to the exercise that we are undertaking.
Question is that head 35 stand par. All honorable members in favor, please say aye. All those against, please say nay. Methinks the ayes have it.
Head 46, Ministry of Maritime Affairs and the Blue Economy, in the amount of $1,250,000.
Honorable member for St. Michael South.
Thank you, Madam Chair. You would recall, Madam Chair, that during COVID, the one thing that we learned was that Barbados needs to be food secure. And that we must put ourselves in a position to be able to make sure that in the event of any unlikely or untoward tragedy, we can feed ourselves. You'd also be aware, Madam Chair, that the fisherfolk and the fishermen played a vital role in maintaining our food security during that period. Today we are here requesting $1.25 million, Madam Chair, to be able to take care in a way of those who took care of us during COVID. We believe, Madam Chair, that we would require what are called FADs, fish aggregating devices, and install these FADs across Barbados, strategically placed in our waters. And these FADs serve to attract fish. Now, FADs for generations are naturally occurring in the system. FADs could be logs, they could be dead whales, just floating devices that small fish are drawn to, and then the larger fish are drawn to the small fish. And FADs have been used across the world to attract fish and increase the fish catch for fishermen. And we are hoping to be able to put the fishermen in Barbados in a position where they too are able to catch more fish over time. We determined, Madam Chair, that it was important that we pilot this project for a year. And so we're hoping to source a few FADs, which we will place strategically, but over time, if the FADs perform effectively, and if we are able to manage and monitor really the ecological and the ecosystem consequences of the FADs, to the extent that we determine that the FADs have a benefit in terms of the amount of fish that we catch, a reduction in the diesel, in the fuel, the diesel that the fishermen must use to be able to source, to find fish because they don't have to go looking for it, that we can use smaller vessels as well because you don't have to go as far, that it could be tremendous benefits to the fisher folk and to the fishermen. And so to that extent, we are seeking to source these FADs. I must also say, Madam Chair, that we are not just stopping there, however. The government, as you are aware, is committed to digitizing most of its processes. And we believe, Madam Chair, that we need to have technology on these FADs that would enable us to monitor the fish stock as well. So we would see the fish that is passing by. It is a system whereby we'll be able to monitor who is accessing the fish. This is technology that is out there and being used across the world, but that Barbados is not using it. So we're really modernizing the fishing industry and bringing more Barbados into the 21st century. So we are seeking to have on the FADs remote electronic monitoring systems. And that will help us to also, because right now we have a dearth of data as it relates to the fish stock, the fish that is being caught and so on. So that also addresses that problem, but it would help us generate secure, confidential, reliable information as well about fisheries and fishing in Barbados. The other small part of this fund, Madam Chair, is to source a vessel, a fishing vessel. You would recall, sir, that one of the promises we made as a government would be that we would source some fishing vessels and start a lease-to-own arrangement with the fisher folk. We're using this first vessel, Madam Chair, as kind of also a pilot, but we want to equip this vessel with renewable technology because we have a 2030 commitment that Barbados must be fossil fuel free or at least carbon neutral. And so the new technology in the fishing industry would allow us to do that. We're going to be working with local builders of the vessel to ensure that we do that, local innovators to work on the solar panels and so on, to make sure that we design a vessel that is fit for purpose in this century, as well as fit for purpose in relation to the direction in which the government wishes to take fisheries and fishing. So, Madam Chair, in a sense, that is where we are. That is why we're seeking to source these funds. I would close very quickly by just saying that today's paper suggests that there is a breakdown in the market of the ice machine. And I just wish to say that the machine, that there's no breakdown, but that the ice machine was taken down for repair. And that when we took down the ice machine, almost all the component parts in there were broken. And because they were broken, we had to source these parts from overseas and import them. But that we expect that machine to be up and running by this Friday. So that our commitment to the fishing industry, Madam Chair, is thorough, as was the repairs that we did on the ice machine as well. So with those remarks, Madam Chair, I wish to move that Head 46 stamp part to the tune of 1.25 million.
Question is that Head 46 stamp part. All honorable members in favor, please say aye. All those against, please say nay. Methinks the ayes have it.
Head 81, Ministry of Transport, Works and Water Resources, in the amount of $3,254,951.
Honorable member for St. Michael West Central.
Thank you, Madam Chair. The request before the Honorable Chamber is in respect to works needed to be executed within the Scotland District as part of the Scotland District Special Works Program. The sum being sought is in reference to the continuing of the gabions to be placed at Fruitful Hill in St. Joseph, where works were commenced this year. There's also provision as part of the request for supplementary funding to build additional gabions to be placed at Lower Parks in St. Joseph. Madam Chair, you would be aware that St. Joseph is located within the Scotland District, and this is an area that is prone to slippage and we're seeking to reinforce the area with the construction of gabions. And you know, gabions are cages which are engineered from the double twisted hexagon woven galvanized steel filled with mesh and rocks to help preserve erosion due to waves, currents, or other groundwater flows. So that is essentially what we're setting out to do. You would appreciate, Madam Chair, that to construct gabions, it's very labor intensive. You have to employ workers to compact the stones within the cage, and then to ensure you position it in such a way to avoid slippage within the area. It is also used to reinforce roadworks and to ensure, or to at least avoid, significant slippage when we are constructing roads within an area. And we're doing one such road, like I said, at Fruitful Hill and then at Lower Parks. The ministry has commenced the road rehabilitation project within the Scotland district, and the sum requested will go a long way in reinforcing the infrastructure within the area of St. Joseph specifically, but also to ensure that we help to stabilize the slippage that we continue to experience within that area. So, Madam Chair, Parliament is invited to approve this request for supplementary funding, and I therefore beg that Head 81 stand part.
Question is that Head 81 stand part. All honorable members in favor, please say aye. All those against, please say nay. Methinks the ayes have it.
Head 82, Ministry of the Environment and National Beautification, in the amount of $3,965,930.
Honorable member for Christchurch West Central.
Thank you, Madam Chair. It is really the month of giving, and if I was to ask for a gift this Christmas, I would ask to have the vocal ability, I have the vocal ability of an icon who penned the song Beautiful, Beautiful Barbados. None other than Emily Strick himself, and to tell the entire Barbados, if I could have seen that sound half as good as him, I would feel good, because Barbados must not only be beautiful in sound, but it must be beautiful as the new paradigm and the new way of life. We can't have an iconic song that represents Barbados all across the world, and Barbados remain a dirty, unkept place. And to this end, Madam Chair, I wish to ask that this chamber commit to the spending of these funds to assist with our national clean and green program. Obviously, we know the importance of keeping our environment clean, not only from a health perspective. We understand the issues as it relates to mosquito-borne illnesses and other vector-borne illnesses that we are faced with as a nation, and the costs associated with that. But certainly, and as much as my good friend, the Member of Parliament for the city, tried his hand at using the fumigants to eradicate the mosquitoes, the reality is that the eggs remain on the leaves of these plants and these shrubberies for a long period of time, up to 10 years, as science provides accurate information. And the only way sometimes to get rid of these, other than using our biodiversity, is to rid ourselves of a lot of these disused lands and to put them into proper usages. The fact remains is that in Barbados, when I hear people talk about idle lands, Madam Chair, that's idle talk. There is no land in Barbados that is idle. The reality is that every single space, green space, must be considered a space with benefits, whether it is the plants being used for carbon sequestration, for food security, for recreational spaces, but most importantly, our biodiversity, which I have spoken of on many occasions, but importantly, and this is the one area that a lot of persons tend to forget, for its psychological benefits. The psychological benefits of having an area that you can balance your humors is invaluable. And when we are faced with the most damning pandemic, to have these spaces, these clean, clear spaces and green spaces where persons can be provided with a natural habitat, recreation habitat, Madam Chair, is something that we all wish that could happen across the length of breadth of Barbados. And so this money, of course, is to go to this national cleanup exercise. And along with that, the other funds that we are asking for is to help with our natural botanical garden, which is a natural oasis. And we are planning to build out, obviously, because science must inform what we do in terms of planting trees. We don't do it in a whimsical way. There is a serious science associated with it, with reference to the type of trees we use, their natural flora, our biodiversity, the ecosystems management. So, of course, we need herbarium structures. We need to, of course, build up our germplasm and our taxonomy. That is the only way we are going to make sense as it relates to building out our botanical garden. And to the east of the botanical garden, as you see in the waterfall base, we are going to have the international garden being built out. So basically those funds are supposed to ensure that Barbados not only remains clean, but there's a green association to it, because we can't be telling the rest of the world, UNFCCC, in terms of our commitments to maintain our Paris Agreement and ensuring that Barbados, our temperatures remain less than 1.5 degrees Celsius. We can't be telling the international community that we have a green economic recovery. We can't be speaking to Latin America and the Caribbean and saying that this is the way how we are going post-COVID if we don't do things on the ground to ensure that this happens. So, Madam Chair, there are a lot of benefits associated with it, and I want to say that these funds will be well spent as we seek to build out a clean and green Barbados. And I want to take the opportunity to thank the Sanitation Service Authority and their workers who are also part of the, not only the cleaning of Barbados, but an essential part of the frontline workers when we talk about the whole COVID response as it relates to keeping our environment clean when faced with a pandemic, the most existential threat since global warming as we know it. So, Madam Chair, I want to thank them from the bottom of my heart. I want to pay homage to all the workers at the NCC and sanitation for staying the course with the words of the Colonel himself and the Member of Parliament for St. Michael, to the city of Bridgetown, no retreat, no surrender. So I want to commit to you, Madam Chair, the sum of $3,965,930, and I wish today that it stand par.
Question is that head 82 stand par. All honorable members in favor, please say aye. All those against, please say nay. Methinks the ayes have it.
Head 83, Ministry of Agriculture and Food Security, in the amount of $7,185,892.
Honorable member for St. Philip South.
Thank you, Madam Chair. The sum of $7,185,892 is being sought to continue the tremendous amount of work that we set about to do in the Ministry of Agriculture and Food Security. And Madam Chair, I feel the responsibility first and foremost to acknowledge all of those who participated in the sector during the shutdown period of COVID-19. It cannot be underscored enough the importance of the sector to Barbados' food security. And indeed, when we look at how all around us, ports were being shut down one after the other, it was important that we maintain a level of food production in this country that give us surety and indeed safety that we were able to feed ourselves during that period. Madam Chair, I'm happy to report that whilst we projected that we were going to cultivate an additional 680 acres of land in Barbados, we actually surpassed that projection by another 75 acres. And so therefore, Barbados was able to see growth in the sector by as high as 16% over a period when all other sectors were in decline. And so, Madam Chair, I take
this time to thank all those workers who are involved in the sector, particularly those who are working, Madam Chair, in the sugar harvest as well. Portville factory remained open 24/7 during that period. And all those workers who went out, many of whom would have had tickets for being on the road because of various situations and the police seeing them on the road at the time when the curfew was on. And I do hope, Madam Chair, that they do not have to pay a penalty, but at the same time need to recognize that they made the sacrifice in coming out at a time when most people remained at home. So they too, I consider to be part of the national effort to make sure that Barbados is secure whilst we went through that period. Madam Chair, in order for us to continue what we are doing in agriculture, we have to build a very solid foundation. And in so doing, we have to be able to get access to what is needed to build out agriculture. There is indeed a dearth of equipment across the sector, and we are seeking to make sure we address this by providing the equipment that is needed so that we can continue to work. I do believe that if we've had the equipment at the time when we cultivated in excess of 680 acres, we could have done more. And right across Barbados, the one thing everybody was saying throughout the COVID period is that you can see clearly that agriculture was growing and that there was more cultivation than they've ever seen in the history of Barbados, or for a very long time, as it relates to non-sugar agriculture. Therefore, in order for us to continue this work, we are seeking to provide equipment under Program 160, Sub-Program 163, to continue our research and development in order for us to increase crop production. And this goes towards machinery for $945,000 at the ministry. Madam Chair, we are also going to provide additional equipment under Sub-Program 637 to the Barbados Agricultural Marketing Corporation so that they too can continue their cultivation work and make sure that they can increase sugar, cotton, and non-sugar production as well. And so the sum of $3,468,492 is going towards that cause. And then, of course, we've completed the sugar harvest, and the farmers for a very long time are getting their payments on time. And it's significant that we know that prior to 2018, there have been many challenges with farmers receiving payments. Certainly many of the people who work on the farms had to go on the farms without bathroom facilities. Many of them had to go to work in some of the conditions where when nature called, they couldn't respond immediately unless they could find a place somewhere on the same field. These things we have brought closure to and have now provided toilets on farms across Barbados and are now moving to a system where we're gonna have mobile toilets, just like the ones that you carry on aircrafts, so that people can then use these toilets. It's not waterborne, so similar to what we have on the aircrafts. And those toilets, we are gonna receive the first set in January, and then we will continue to ramp up. So that the work at the AMC will continue. But the payment of $2,645,400 goes to the farmers for the climate mitigation subsidy that was introduced so that they can maintain increased production, but at the same time, practice good husbandry. And then, of course, Madam Chair, the Scotland District, the Soil Conservation Unit, they continue to do their work over there. A lot of requests are being made now for them to carry out excavation work and provide services across Barbados, clearing bush, clearing overgrown lots, etc., and indeed bringing back a lot of land into production. And in order to support the work that they're doing, the sum of $127,000 is going towards equipment to help them to continue their work. Therefore, Madam Chair, a total sum of $4,540,492 will be going towards the procurement of equipment for the ministry, across the SOE and soil, and $2,645,400 as support for the farmers in the form of the climate mitigation subsidy. So, Madam Chair, I do seek the House approval for the sum of $7,185,892 and ask that Head 83 do stand par.
All members in favor, please say aye. Aye. All those against, please say nay. Methinks the ayes have it.
Head 86, Ministry of Health and Wellness, in the amount of $739,562.
Honorable member for the city.
Thank you, Madam Chair. The funds being sought in this supplementary under Head 86 really are intended to enhance the environmental health services program of the ministry, with particular emphasis on the vector control unit. In the Ministry of Health and Wellness, we are not only fighting the protracted battle against NCDs, the current battle against COVID, but we are also launching an attack on dengue and the outbreak of dengue in this country. And this is very, very important for the ministry and for the country as a whole, because we cannot have a situation where dengue patients and COVID patients are competing, for example, for the same hospital beds and things of that nature. And to be honest with you, from the time we started to track this on the advice of the World Health Organization, Pan American Health Organization, and CARPHA, we recognized early that it was really very possible for dengue to have a more significant impact on our population here in Barbados than COVID itself. And so we embarked on a program to try to mitigate the spread of dengue in the country. And the funds that we are seeking here really are intended to enhance that program. The majority of the funds are required for professional services, and I will explain those, machinery and equipment, supplies and materials, including chemicals. What we are trying to do in the ministry with the Vector Control Unit is to give it some additional human resources to be able to do a few things. One, we have trained about 30 persons so far to participate in the fogging program and enhanced fogging program, but they have not yet been able to do that because we are awaiting some equipment to come into the island. We plan to purchase about 40 handheld foggers, as well as some additional vehicle-mounted fogging machines to be able to allow us to have 5 dedicated teams for fogging, 2 to operate in the northern half of the island, 2 in the southern half of the island, and with a special team that would respond to specific requests by the environmental health officers. The intent then is to free up the environmental health officers and assistants to be able to go into the communities to try to locate, identify mosquito breeding sites, to neutralize those sites, and for us then to be able, with the foggers, to control any outbreak. At the moment, the 30 persons who we've taken on board and have been trained are actually out in the field identifying sites at this time, and the information is being fed back to the Environmental Health Department so that they can start a coordinated and targeted program so that we can bring this thing under control. And we are going so as far with this as we possibly can to be able also to utilize technology to assist with those persons who go out and identify sites so that when they log in the information, it goes back to base, and then the policy, the plan, the execution part of it can be put together in as short a period of time as possible so that we can continue to respond. And I know that this is going to bring a lot of relief to Barbadians because I've been getting a lot of calls from a lot of my honorable colleagues in this chamber, from constituents from across the country. And we are trying desperately to be able to respond to those calls. Now, remember that fogging is important, but fogging is only a temporary measure because the main effort has to be dedicated towards locating, isolating, and neutralizing the mosquito breeding sites. And this is where we now call on all Barbadians to come on board. This has to be an all of country, all of society approach to this in the same way that we are fighting COVID. We want people to be able to call in. We want people to be able to identify. We want people to be able to take measures to reduce the number of mosquito breeding sites so that people take responsibility for their homes, for the areas around them, for their communities, and even the corporate Barbados must play a part in this as well by doing the same thing for the areas where their businesses are located. So I will speak more to this as time goes by, but I just wanted to indicate, and I thank the Ministry of Finance for making these funds available, even though we've been having funds also to fight COVID, but this is really as a result of the level of care and concern that this government has for the health and safety and well-being of its citizens. And I think that that is a most commendable effort. And so, without any further ado, I invite this honorable chamber to support this supplementary, and I beg to move that head 86 in the tune of $739,561 stand part.
Question is that head 86 stand par. All honorable members in favor, please say aye. All those against, please say nay. Methinks the ayes have it.
Yeah. But this is the amount is $739,562.
All right, so let's do that. I beg that head 86 in amount of $739,562 stand par. All honorable members in favor, please say aye. All those against, please say nay. Methinks the ayes have it.
Head 91, Ministry of Youth, Sports and Community Empowerment, in the amount of $75,000.
For St. George South.
Thank you, Madam Chair. I rise to 91.
Go ahead.
Thank you, Madam Chair. I rise to seek the indulgence of this Lord Chamber for the approval on the Head 91 under the Ministry of Youth, Sports and Community Empowerment for a grant for the Nature Fund Ranch for their work with at-risk youth. And Madam Chair, the Nature Fund Ranch has been in the vanguard of providing lifelong skills for at-risk youth in this country. And I want at the outset to congratulate the management and the person, without calling the name, who manages that institution in the north of this island, because very often we realize that young men and young women who leave school without academic qualifications and some what I call lifelong skills. In the past, these young men and women had no second chance. But what this program has done is to create the opportunity for these young men and women to learn lifelong skills and to allow them to become global citizens, and also to further build out our mandate of making Barbados the best place to live, work, raise a family, and to do business. And in that regard, skills such as entrepreneurial skills, farming, discipline, civic education. These are some of the range of skills that are taught at the Nature Farm Ranch. And annually, the Nature Farm Ranch produces some 450 to 500 at-risk youth with these skills. And what we call giving them a second chance and bringing them back into mainstream Barbados, whereby people don't see them as problem children or problem youth. And I often use the phrase, Madam Chair, that youth development is national development, and national development is youth development. And if we are supposed to prepare this country for 50 years down the road, and if we are seeking to address deviant behavior among our young people, and I will end on that part because most of the crime being committed today are being committed by young people. And we can't turn a blind eye to that. And we have a duty to our young people, the at-risk youth, to give them the necessary skills and to help them navigate whatever challenges they face, whether within the home environment, within the working environment. And we welcome programs such as the Nature Farm Ranch and the Barbados Youth Advanced Corps, the member for Christchurch West Central who started that program. I want to congratulate him because annually we roll out 900 young men and women at the Barbados Youth Advanced Corps, in addition to the Nature Farm Ranch of 450 young men and women. And if you add that, annually we're looking at saving the lives and creating job opportunities and skill set for some 13 or 1,400 young Barbadians. And Madam Chair, I also want to congratulate the government, the Prime Minister, who saw it fit to create a program such as the Barbados Youth Advanced Corps, whereby we can teach young men discipline, civic education, and indeed self-esteem building, and a range of other personal development courses, as well as getting them job placement and mentorship. So I stand here, Madam Chair, to support this resolution, to propose it to the Lord Chamber, and it is my expectation and our expectation as a government, while this $75,000 takes us to the end of the financial year, we're hoping that we can provide more funding as we go through our estimates to build this program further and to create what we call scale, whereby we have more at-risk youth being part of this program. And with those few words, Madam Chair, I beg that Head 91 stand par.
Question is that Head 91 stand par. All honorable members in favor, please say aye. All those against, please say nay. Methinks the ayes have it.
Head 92, Ministry of Energy, Small Business and Entrepreneurship, in the amount of $200,000.
Honorable member for St. George South.
Thank you, Madam Chair. I've been given the duty, Madam Chair, in this Lord Chamber again to speak on behalf of the Minister of Energy, Small Business and Entrepreneurship, to seek your approval on the Head 92, the Ministry of Energy, Small Business and Entrepreneurship, for the sum of $200,000 required to finance the initial operations of the Financial Literacy Bureau. And Madam Chair, as we seek to build business in this country, we recognize that small businesses, medium-sized businesses, and also micro businesses lack what we call basic financial management training and financial literacy training. This bureau was conceptualized over a year ago, and indeed when we came to office, the Prime Minister, when we wrote our manifesto, we recognized in an effort to really build out small business in this country, we have to focus on financial literacy. And when we speak about financial literacy, we are not speaking about just accounting, but a range of aspects, a range of discipline that will allow small businesses to function effectively and efficiently in an effort to take these businesses from the informal sector to the formal sector. And we came up with this program as a government to indeed inculcate and give the necessary skills to our people in the schools, in our homes, in the businesses. Not just in the businesses, but in the schools and in the home, because we have to create that entrepreneurial ethos and that entrepreneurial culture that is nationally pervasive and driven by international foresight. And this is a key tenet of creating that ethos, that entrepreneurial ethos. So, with those words, Madam Chair, I would want to support this resolution on behalf of the good fellow, Minister of Entrepreneurship, Energy and Small Business, and to say to the people of this country that financial literacy would give us the way to build out the small businesses and to ensure that the small business sector, the micro, small, and medium enterprise sector contributes to GDP as is in other countries like Jamaica, United States, India, whereby the micro, small, and medium enterprise sector contributes to over 50% of GDP. So with those few words, Madam Chair, I beg that Head 92 stand par.
Question is that Head 92 stand par. All honorable members in favor, please say aye. All those against, please say nay. Methinks the ayes have it.
Madam Chair, I beg to move that you do not report to His Honor the Speaker the passing of one money resolution in committee. In standing finance committee.
Question then is, I do not report to His Honor the Speaker the passing of one money resolution in standing finance committee. All honorable members in favor, please say aye. All those against, please say nay. Methinks the ayes have it.
The chairman of the Standing Finance Committee has reported the passing of one money resolution in the Standing Finance Committee.
Mr. Speaker, I beg to move that this resolution be read a first time.
Second.
The question is that the aforementioned resolution be read a first time. All those honorable members in favor, please say aye. Aye. All those against, please say no. Methinks the ayes have it.
Mr. Speaker, I beg to move that this resolution be read a second time.
Questions that the aforementioned resolution be read a second time. All those honorable members in favor, please say aye. Aye. All those against, please say no. Methinks the ayes have it.
Mr. Speaker, I beg to move that this resolution do not pass.
The question is that this resolution be now agreed to. All those honorable members in favor, please say aye. Aye. All those against, please say no. Methinks the ayes have it.
Mr. Speaker, recommittal of papers.
Honourable Member for Christchurch East Central.
Mr. Speaker, I am commanded to lay the customs list of prohibited and restricted imports and exports amendment order 2020. Duties, taxes, and other payments exemption, China National Complete Plant Import and Export Corporation Barbados Limited Order 2020, and the value-added tax refund, Abu Dhabi Future Energy Company, PJSC, Masdar Order 2020.
Revert to government business, sir.
Honourable Leader of Government Business.
Thank you, Mr. Speaker. With that, we have come to the end of today's sitting. We've also come to the end of the sitting for this entire year. And in speaking on the adjournment because I know that there are many members who are anxious to not only see the end of this sitting, but certainly to start preparations for the Christmas activities. And I know many of you will want to mingle with constituents, obviously safely and with the physical distancing protocols in place, of course. But I do feel that given the opportunity that we have over the course of the next couple of weeks, it will certainly allow members who have worked tirelessly over the last few months, trying to keep Barbadians safe, to be able to spend some much needed time, I believe, with family and certainly with friends, and to reconnect as best as they can. And I know that as we come to the end of this period, I know we're all looking forward to certainly next year having the opportunity to get back into the Parliament in town. Because while we have enjoyed the time here, we're mindful that the renovations that were necessary to deal with the environmental issues at the other place have also been pressing, and we've been trying to push ahead to make sure that we can get back into that facility. So I would want to first of all thank the management here at this particular location and the staff that have worked with us to be able to accommodate us during this very difficult period. We never expected that we would have to relocate in the way that we did, but they have made the accommodation here as best as it could be given the circumstances, and I know that we are very grateful to them for so doing. But we do look forward to being able to get back into the original House of Parliament. I also want to thank the clerks and the extended staff of Parliament, the catering staff, the security, the servers, all of the persons who make our time here comfortable and productive, as well as obviously the Royal Barbados Police Force who watch over us and make sure that we are safe while we are here. I want to also thank the technical staff who we don't see normally, but I know that they work tirelessly behind the scenes to make sure that everything that we do here is properly captured, and certainly allowing other persons across the world and certainly in Barbados to be able to view what we are doing. I want to thank and certainly to wish a Merry Christmas and a Happy New Year to my colleagues, all parliamentary colleagues, including the Honourable Leader of the Opposition, who, though we do not always agree on everything, we continue to be respectful of each other. And when he does agree with us, we are more than elated because we know that he's come back to his philosophical moorings. I hope that 2021 is less stressful for everyone than 2020 has been. I mean, when I think of where we started all pumped up for We Gathering. And then it was a case of we are physical distancing, we are sanitizing, and of course, we are wearing masks as well. And everything seemed to have changed over the last couple of months, because we started to turn the corner, and then it was almost as though we were basically starting from the start line all over again. All of us have worked hard in our respective ministries to do what Prime Minister always says, which is to deconstruct and reconstruct our ministries, to deconstruct and reconstruct our thinking, because that is the only way that we're going to be able to take Barbados out of this very difficult period. I am still, like most others, watching COVID cases, but I'm also very confident in the Honourable Member for the City and his entire team. I've been confident in them, even as it relates to our children in school. They've worked with us tirelessly when we had the incident with one of our secondary schools. And I've continued to be totally satisfied that we are in good hands as a country because of the level of expertise that we have within the healthcare system, and long shall that be. This year will be remembered as a year of buzzwords like protocols, lockdown, curfew, I don't think most of us ever expected that we would be speaking of lockdown and curfew certainly in our lifetime, and certainly not in relation to our own ability to move around this country. But it has also been a year, despite all of the downs, there's also been a lot of ups. And, again, I take away from this period, and I invite others to do the same as we reflect on people whom we have lost in the last year, both Barbadians and visitors alike, and persons across the world, that we are still here, and we're still fortunate to be here. Barbados has fought a good fight and continues to fight a good fight. And therefore, there's a lot that we have to be proud of and a lot to look forward to in 2021. So on my own behalf, on behalf of the residents, constituents of St. Michael's Southeast, on behalf of all of my colleagues, I want to wish all of you a Merry Christmas and a happy 2021. And we look forward to joining with all of you, including you, Mr. Speaker, as well, for 2021 back in these chambers, but also with being mindful always that we have yet again prepared in the event that we have to go virtual at any point in time, because this is an administration that prepares, just as we prepared for Harrison Point, and we prepared in terms of making sure we had finances for vaccines. We have also prepared in the event that we have to move in the direction of a virtual parliament as well. And therefore, in that vein, Mr. Speaker, I'm obliged to you.
Honorable Leader of the Opposition.
Sir, just to join with the Honorable Leader of the House in recognizing the invaluable contribution of those who served us, those who are involved in security, the technical people, hospitality staff, ancillary staff of Parliament, to you yourself, sir, for your presiding, the way you presided over matters in this House, and of course, chairman of committees, and to the clerks at the table for the service they have rendered in helping us to have reached this point. It has been a challenging year, but it has been a blessed year. I want to thank the Honorable Leader of the House as well for courtesies that she has extended me. And I'd like to wish all in the chamber, members and otherwise, blessings over Christmas and the best in the new year.
I now wish to take this opportunity to wish all honorable members in this chamber, all honorable members in this chamber, a most prosperous, peaceful, and blessed 2020 Yuletide season. Hoping that you return in 2021 energized and ready to do the people's work once more for 2021. I hope that prosperity and bountiful prosperity will fall upon you in 2021. Those who are pauperized, I hope that they become enriched, both monetarily, psychologically, and spiritually, and that the chamber will continue to show civility even when there's contention. On behalf of the clerk, the deputy clerk, the marshal, and all ancillary staff, I want to extend greetings again on their behalf and hope that we will come back and that we shall survive COVID, and that by 2021, a degree of normality will start to return to Barbados. And I do believe that with God's blessing, we shall succeed and overcome. Honorable the Government.
Thank you, Mr. Speaker. And with those few words, I think it is a perfect time to adjourn the House until the 12th of January at 10 a.m.
The question is that this honorable chamber stands adjourned until Tuesday, the 12th day of January, 2021 at 10 a.m. in the forenoon. All those honorable members in favor, please say aye. Those against, please say no. Meeting the ayes have it. This honorable chamber stands adjourned until Tuesday, the 12th day of January, 2021.